Destiny 2, The Final Shape, Prismatic Warlock, developer playtest preview by Destiny 2. As a Solar Warlock, I need to see this.
Alright, I'm gonna just transcend and just send it on this guy.
Is that a Solar friend?
Oh my god.
Blue snipers up top, watch him.
Oh, nice. We should follow up this
So
side.
he's using Solar and
awesome.
Strand, right?
Alright.
Is that Forerunner?
I got grenades on those down there. Anything left? There's a couple.
Get him. Get him.
I'm just chucking abilities and praying over here.
Gotta get that platinum score, right?
This is so
Alright, let's kick some butt
strange.
here. Sweet. There's that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Threadlings.
I dive bombed onto them with my
Stasis
threadlings.
and Solar. A lot of focus on Solar, actually.
Ooh, one more. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Ooh, no, I got you. Okay, there we go. That was amazing.
Okay, so that's an interesting teaser. I think that they're Pegasus' Millennium Eye. When I was looking at some of the Taken, I was like, man, that kind of looks like Relinquished, like Thousand Eyes Restrict Millennium Eye. So there you go. Okay, let's kind of take a minute to kind of break that down. We're gonna turn the volume down a little bit because I have some commentary. Obviously, as you know, I am a Solar Warlock, right? I main well. I'm currently using Sun Bracers. You know, I teach raids. I've gone through, at this point in time, as of recording this, week 2 of Pantheon, going into week 3 with double Rolk. That's going to be fun. But my main shtick is I want to be support. And even then, even running support, I can still put out some really decent damage in comparison to other people, even though I'm running well. So someone on like Atrax, right, my damage is going to be middling. But that doesn't mean I can't swap to Parasite. That doesn't mean, you know, on the fly I can't, it doesn't mean I can't throw a Solar Grenade at him. It doesn't mean that I couldn't swap to, say, I don't know, Starfire Protocol, which apparently, according to this new super, it's kind of this super stim. It does look like we have this little Solar friend. If you look on the right of the screen, we have this little Solar friend, kind of like Arc Souls, kind of like the little Void thing. The grenade into the snap, a lot of burst DPS. It looks like they're using, Zali's Bane Harrowed. I don't know if the Harrowed, the quote-unquote adept version, right? I don't know if Zali's Bane Harrowed stacks up to the crafted version, because the crafted version, while it doesn't have the adept, while it can't get the adept perks, right, plus 10 reload, plus 10 stability, adept big ones, right, while it can't roll those things, because it's not an adept, it's not Harrowed, quote unquote, so it can't roll that, it can't get those mods, right? So looking at that and looking at the crafted roll does have enhanced perks, so I love somebody to cite the math for me on that, but I would say that the crafted would beat out Harrowed even with access to the adept mods. At least that's what I would assume. It's very interesting to consider. It does look like they're being very Solar focused, and that could be what the exotic is focused on. I personally haven't looked too deep into it. This Hellion buff is really interesting. We see Radiant and Devour procking. I wonder what they're using to proc Devour. Might be a seasonal. I'm not entirely sure. It does look like they are using, on the bottom left, looks like they're using the Strand super for this, and then I'm assuming that is going to be brain. That is going to be the Solar, but it's not going to be well, so I'm assuming it's just going to be Sword, right? It looks like Forerunner, but I can't see. It looks like that's Unstop, and everything else looks like Barrier, but it's Barrier because they're Radiant. So we might see Unstop, Hand Cannon or Sidearm next season?
Oh, nice.
I think that's a Sidearm.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it's got to be Forerunner.
All right.
Yeah, so we might be looking at Unstop Sidearm then for next season.
There's a couple.
Get him.
It's so weird to not see Sun Bracers being played here.
I'm just chucking.
But, I mean, I will commend them on this. They are taking damage. In some of the other test footage, some of the other showcase footage that we've seen, they're using, developer God mode or whatever, and that worries me because of the conversations we've had about Destiny becoming inaccessible to newer players, Destiny becoming harder, Destiny needing to be harder by some top 1% groups and clans, right? So, and individuals that are very outspoken about it. So this is one of those things that I look at, and if you're using God mode, is it that the game is going to be harder for your average user, or is it just meant to make it flashy for your showcase? I think that's important to look at going forward.
Get that platinum score, right?
But Zali's one of the best hand cannons in the game. So, I mean, it's great. It's efficient. It works. This is why I actually don't like the Strand Super. The Strand Super for Warlock, you have to be not right in their face. Think of it like a shotgun, right? With a bunch of pellets, right? So birdshot, right? It's not slugs, it's birdshot. So what you do is you proc your ultimate. For those that haven't seen the Warlock Strand Super, you get a bunch of these little threadling things around you, and then they shoot off in directions. But say you're aiming for the boss in center of screen, you see how they're flying off to the left. That means you got to be in this really close middle distance for it to really work. However, it does hit pretty hard if all the pellets, quote unquote, actually hit.
Sweet. there's that.
I think it's interesting to be able to combine these, and now it looks like we have Stasis and Solar, which I'm pretty sure Well is not one of the prismatic ones, so you'd have to be using, what, Dawnblade?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I think it's an interesting combination. I think the Solar Friend is going to go pretty hard. The super itself, if I understand it correctly, the new super, I think, is a self-stim. So my kind of thoughts on this as a Solar Warlock, I don't know if it's going to replace Well, right? Let's look at going through things like Pantheon right now, right? Let's just take a look at it for your average group, because I was literally having this conversation at 4 a.m. after I finished Oryx, right? When you're looking at your average raid group, generally your Well of Radiance, you're going to need 1 to 2 people with Well. 1 if the team is doing pretty well. What Well is used for is you drop it wherever you need it. There are many points like that, but that one's mine. You're dropping it on point and allowing your team to do damage. They can combo off with, say, an Atrax Parasite, right, with that buff. If you're in Planets, right, everyone stands in it to get their Radiant buff and get that healing, so Planet's boss doesn't just absolutely nuke you with Fire Tornadoes, right, and you're doing damage with Apex or whatever you're running, Dragon's Breath even, right? Well is kind of indispensable for your average fire team. We absolutely have challenges for Rid of Nightmare. We absolutely have challenges for dungeons. Go and using a full Solar team, go and using a full Arc team, go and using a full Strand team, right? And if you're doing a challenge run, you don't have access to Well, right? I'm not saying the game is impossible. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, for your average person, right? I've taught a lot of raids, okay? I've had people fight back with me. I've had people that have completed the raid once in a 3 to 4 hour session and just say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to do this. I've had people that just aren't mechanically that skilled, and that's fine. Well, the last one's fine, right? Not everyone is going to be this, I'm going to solo Pantheon kind of hot swap person, right? I think that's fair. So when you look at your average fire team, especially if you're going on LFG, especially if you're having people that don't know the mechanics, especially if you're having people that are fresh to the game and want to get into raiding, you need Well. And so I think that a lot of Warlocks are going to want to try Prismatic, and I think that the issue with Well becomes not to necessarily nerf it, but to bring other things up to par. That way Warlocks really have a choice. If you're running Warlock, what are you running? Strand Super? You're running Chaos Reach, in my opinion. I haven't seen Tickle Fingers in a hot minute. I know it's good for ad clear. I know it's good for certain encounters. You're running Well of Radiance, obviously, and I hear the occasional Nova Bomb if you got an absolute just cracked Void build, right? Meanwhile, if you're Hunter, I mean, yeah, you could argue, well, we just use our Golden Gun, or we just use our Gathering Storm, throw our Lance and forget it, right? And yes, you are correct, but you also have access to things like Deadfall. You also have access to, I don't even think anyone uses Spectral Blades anymore, right? Mobius Quiver. You have access to, some of those other things. But generally, you have very high damaging supers. You have very high damaging abilities. Warlock is kind of relegated into this weird place where even if you have, say, a Nova Bomb build that is absolutely just going to guarantee a 2-phase on a boss, you will have people still telling you to put on the Well. Even if Prismatic is absolutely cracked and you're able to combo off, wombo combo into your Strand Super and do buku damage, you are still going to have a lot of players, Hunters, Titans, other Warlocks that want to run things, and therefore you're going to need to still run the Well. I think that this is a unique problem, and the way you solve it is bringing the rest of Warlock up rather than knocking Well down more pegs. And really, I think the inciting incident for this, talking with someone who had played raids prior to the Sunset, right? When Bubble and Well stacked, once they didn't stack anymore, it's not like you can shoot through the Titan bubble, right? Well and Bubble not being able to stack anymore was kind of the first stones of an avalanche that has caused a bunch of nerfs and reworks and stuff like that, in my opinion. But I digress. This is one Dingus Solar Warlock's opinion on this. I do think that the showcase is cool. I do think that Bungie taking that initiative and not putting on TGM, right, being, showing damage and stuff like that, I think is really cool. I think that Prismatic is going to have a very interesting effect on the metagame, especially when in regards to Crucible, which I personally don't play, but I think that it's going to be very interesting. And I don't know if it's going to be enough, though, because there's so many Hunters in game. There's so many other players in game, not that aren't just Hunters, right, that require Well to even function as a team. There are Titans I know that have to have a Well. There are multiple Hunters I know that have to have a Well. There are Warlocks I know that want to run Chaos Reach, that want to run Nova Bomb. And for someone like me who feels comfortable with Well, that's fine. I'll run Well all day. But it is putting a lot of pressure on Warlocks in the community, and don't be mad if Warlocks don't want to run Well anymore. especially when we have players in that top 1% that are saying we need to nerf Well. Well's actually OP. Then how about don't use the Well? Put your money where your mouth is, clear the content without using Well, and leave Well for the rest of us and those new players. I think that this is going to be cool for newer players coming in, but especially newer Warlocks, I do caution you that Well is going to be pretty much expected of you, especially if you're the only Warlock on the team. In any event, thank you for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you think my points are on point. Let me know if you think I missed the mark on some of these. Let me know what your subclass is. Let me know what your class is. Let me know if you think that there's going to be some interesting things coming with Prismatic, or do you think that this is just going to be a, yeah, it's cool, but we really need you to run the Well. Thank you for watching. Have a good one.